I think it started. Yeah, it's live now.
Yeah,
Let's just wait for a few minutes while folks join.
sure.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Priyanka Gill. I'm a venture partner here at Kalaari and at CXXO. And welcome to our first ever CXXO Masterclass. CXXO is an initiative by Kalaari Capital where we invest in fantastic female founders just like Malini and the brands that they're building. And Malini, of course, is one of our very important and special CXXO founders. She is the founder and CEO of a brand called Deconstruct. And it's one of those brands that's really catching on fire right now. Your sunscreens are doing extremely well, and I absolutely love them myself personally. So, Malini, of course, you've had a fantastically storied career. You did your MBA from INSEAD. You've been with fantastic FMCG brands in the past, and then of course you went on to build Deconstruct. Let's start a little bit at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your journey, how it started, and how did Deconstruct come about?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Priyanka, for the wonderful introduction. Um, so yeah, probably I'll just rewind 3.5, 4 years ago when I was just thinking about starting a brand. I was actually looking at multiple sectors. Beauty and personal care seemed to be that very one interesting sector because um, somehow the sector was selling beauty products in such a way as if there was no sort of information that was being provided about the product. It is, at the end of the day, it's a personal care product. You are actually using it to take care of yourself, but the way it was sold in the market in such a fairy tale-ish manner, it really did not sit well with me. And that's basically when the entire thought process about why not create an intelligent and fun brand for the new age women consumer like all of us sitting here. And that was the starting point, as I said, 4 years ago. And like literally started the brand in our garage in Bangalore. And that's basically when the first set of products came into the garage and we started shipping it out. And then yeah, and then rest is history. Just to put it, it wasn't definitely easy to start off because it was also a pandemic brand. We launched the market in March of 2021. That basically meant that a lot of things were not in our favor at that point in time, including hiring resources. And I have done everything. I have done from packing the product to dispatching it, being the customer care person, taking feedback, talking to R&D to improve the product. Of course, we were working with external agencies at that point in time. So that's it. I think, like, I became everything. And of course I had great support system as at home as well, and that is another thing that kind of helped me go through it. So yeah, and rest is history, and rest we are here sitting with Deconstruct today, like, like on many shelves in the market currently. So yeah, that's how it started off.
Yeah, so I'd love to know a little bit more about Deconstruct from you, and how do you pitch the brand? How do you talk about it? How do you define the brand?
Sure. So as I said, right, like the earliest thought process was, can we actually create products that work and talk to customers about working of the product rather than, the entire, shusha around the product, right? So that was where it all started off. And today, the philosophy continues to stay on. We are a brand that actually provides evidence-backed products, to give you results. And so we concentrate a lot on efficacy of the ingredients that are going in, efficacy of the end product. And that's the underlying thing where we stand for as a brand. However, where we differ from all the evidence backed products that are present in the market is we just don't concentrate only on the efficacy part. We concentrate a lot on being gentle as well. So when we see that so many people are starting their skincare journey, I'm sure they are wondering, it's all Greek and Latin to them with such really, you know, difficult names going around. So we want to become that go-to brand for someone beginning their skincare journey, because we offer just products that are just not efficacious but also gentle. We have a promise that we guarantee irritation free results, and that's exactly where we want to make a place for ourselves here in this plethora of skincare brands that are coming up.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because, of course, standing out in a very crowded marketplace is one of the big challenges that a lot of beauty D2C founders have. How do you go about that, and how do you think about it?
So I think what's very, very important is, listening to your customer, right? So I think that's the most important thing, all through, like, listening to the customer and what sort of mind space are you occupying of theirs is probably one of the most important thing. And in fact, like, that's exactly how we came across our products. I mean, of course, always being gentle has been a part of the product formulation itself, but we never talked about it. But we started talking about it because most of our loyal customers actually came and said, we are using your products because they're just not gentle, they're also just not effective, they're also gentle. And that's basically when the thought process triggered to us, and that's where they said, that's why we are so loyal to do Deconstruct, and we would love to use a lot more products from the brand. And I think forming that equity as to what you stand for is absolutely important. And how do you do that is, like, first you need to recognize who your customer are and what are their pain points and what exactly are you solving for them. And I mean, it's not as easy as I'm just putting it in this language, right? So it's like really get into the detail of who your customer, where do they stay, like, and what is their demographics like, what are their likes, what are their dislikes, how many skincare products do they use, just not skincare, like, what F&B brands do they buy. I think that gives you a perspective of who the customer is. And that's when you will be able to build out the right product for their need. Another way to do it also is that having your team with a lot of women, because most of the brand users are women, and then when you have women in your team, those kind of insights come in automatically. So that's basically, like, how, and you can actually know your customer in a much deeper manner, in a much faster way, because your customer is actually sitting in your team in a way, right? So that's, I think, like, forming that equity by understanding your customer to answer your question.
Absolutely. And I can vouch for the fact that having your team as your customer is actually the easiest hack that a founder can do. So let's talk about some of your signature and hero products. Which are the deconstruct products that work really well in the market?
Right. So, as I told you about the philosophy, right? Why were customers using us? And one of the products that actually stood out when we were talking to the customers is vitamin C serum, and that we went really big on. And the second product that actually stood for our customers is our sunscreen. These are the two hero products which we are building out currently. And why we are building out, and I mean, or rather, why we are winning in these products is actually because we nailed on, like, what was the customer looking for, and are we providing that right product. Our vitamin C serum is just not effective but also gentle. We've seen we haven't seen anyone actually saying that, hey, this is actually giving me a skin irritation or a skin rash. And that's one of the hero products. And then sunscreen, I think that's another hero product. We really understood the customer. They actually wanted something which doesn't feel very oily on their skin, which just doesn't give that, that chip sort of a layer. And our product actually just stands true for that. We today, we basically is probably the best sunscreen in the market for any sort of skin type, including oily skin, because sunscreens were known to really not be very oily skin friendly, right? So I would say that's where we are playing in, but definitely we are betting very big on sun care, because we see a lot of consumers adapting to sun products, and that's basically where we are seeing the next level of growth for us to come as well from.
Yeah, let's do switch gears a little bit, right? You are a solo female founder. So there must be, I'm sure there are a lot of, and I've been one myself as well. So there are a lot of interesting challenges that come your way when you're that. What are they and how do you deal with them?
Yeah, I think there are multiple challenges that come by, but one of the things I really want to talk about is how do you as you're growing, even initially as well, how do you make people believe in your vision? How do you make people look at you like a leader, right? So I think that's one of the most important things, because traditionally leader is something associated with words like tall, muscular, right? Like they're not really associated with soft spoken, tiny, right? Which is actually most women are. I mean, I'm 5 feet something, and if you are actually in a room and you want audiences to hear to you, to kind of buy in your vision, they need to start looking at you like a leader. And unfortunately for most women, right, because of the physical appearance and traditionally what leadership meant, because leadership was basically in a battlefield at that point in time. But right now, when we are fighting battles in the boardrooms, I think that definition needs to change. So making someone's listen to you and making someone look at you like a leader, I feel is one of the most, I mean, I would say like a unique challenge, like that comes to you as a woman founder. I'm sure you've gone through it as well, and I think, like, you just need to kind of overcome it in some way or the other. For me, what has helped is having a very good grip on what I'm doing, like understanding every function of the organization in a very detailed manner, probably working harder than everyone in the team. And that's basically when they start looking at you, and they start looking at your vision and direction. That's basically what has worked for me. However, I think overall as a society we need to change as to what the definition of leadership means, and for sure I think that's the starting point. But yeah, so I think a long way for us to kind of get there, when you can automatically start looking at a woman and say, hey, she's a leader, right?
Of
So yeah,
course.
that, yeah.
And also like one of the most important functions that founders have is making sure that the company is well capitalized fundraising. So tell us a little bit about your kind of how did you raise your first bit of capital? What was your journey like then? And again, like what are the interesting experiences you might have had there?
Sure. So I think, I kind of went about it like how anyone who's raising funds would go. Like, probably, I think the first thing is to kind of, understand what your product is, who's your customer, irrespective. Like, we're talking about D2C brand, but, I think it stands true for even a tech product, even a B2B business, right? So what is that service or product that you're building out? Who's your customer and why is that unique for that specific customer? I think getting these 3 points right is, it actually gives even the opposite person that you have some sort of clarity of thought. And then from there, you can kind of build out on your vision. So I think that was something I ensured from day one. I was extremely focused on, and I was extremely aware of what where we are going as a brand and what do we stand for, and no compromises in that. So I think that is something that kind of helped us in with respect to getting those customers and hence the revenue as well. And that sort of clarity also definitely impresses someone who you are actually going to raise funds from. And when you have that kind of clarity, I'm sure no one would say no to you. Right, so I think first round of fundraise has happened that way. Like, of course I've had like a dream as to where I want to take Deconstruct. Initially, especially when you don't have a lot of revenue, it all comes from your vision, your clarity of thought, and your ambition. And then after a while, numbers will start speaking for themselves.
Yeah, so again, let's talk specifically about your fundraise journey. Like, how many investors did you pitch to? What happened? And especially, kind of, again, a lot of ICs do say, "Oh, who's your co-founder?" How did you deal with those questions?
Right. Yeah, so I've been a solo women founder, right? So I think that's also, I mean, like, I don't know, it's not been difficult for me if you ask me, but I'm sure it like, from I've gotten this question a lot from the opposite person who's sitting on the opposite end. So just double clicking on it, I mean, I did meet like multiple investors, right? But then, of course, the product remains same, your customer remains same, but whoever's sitting is on the opposite end should understand what your product is. Despite having that clarity, usually if you are actually building out a product for a woman, I think only a woman can actually understand, that okay, yes, this product is actually required. But because even today, a lot of them say, I don't know, is sunscreen so important? Like, I haven't seen anyone using sunscreen. I know my daughter uses it, but then, like, I keep hearing this a lot from the investors, and my daughter uses it or my wife uses it, but I don't know, is this such a big market? I think a lot of times, I've seen most investors don't even do their homework when they come. Would you say the same thing about if someone is pitching some high end financial product? Would you actually say that, hey, I don't know about it? Because that doesn't feel cool. So, I think the first thing is that, you want to go to investors who actually respect what you're building and understand what you're building. And that, I mean, that respect only comes if they understand what you're building, and that if they believe that there's a market. So, that was definitely one of my shortlist options, to kind of get to an investor, I would say. And that's exactly where I came across, the team at CXXO and Kalari and Vani, right? So I think that's exactly how you have to go about, like, is the opposite person able to even understand your product? And then, like, and then I kind of pitched to everyone at CXXO. Vani was there, and because they understand what you're building, they are women themselves, and it went through. So I would
Yeah,
say that's exactly how it went about.
amazing. And we're extremely happy to have you in the CXXO and the Kalari family. Um, as an entrepreneur, and especially now that you've been at it for a while now, there are certain things that you wish you knew at the beginning when you started. What would they be?
um, that it is going to be this difficult. I think that's something I wish I knew. And but then I mean, I've heard a lot of times, like, people say don't give up. Probably that's been my best advice as well, but probably one of the most difficult advices to follow also. And that's true. Like, people might say persevere, don't give up. And I'm sure everyone here, like, would have heard it multiple times. But that is the only thing, like, because entrepreneurship is a lot about lows than highs. And how do you bring yourself up, and people who believe in you, your team, your investors, up during those lows, is probably one of the most important things. So when they say the journey is lonely, it's actually truly lonely, because you are actually justifying yourself that there is a greater mission I'm actually, like, working on here. And especially during those lows, you need to remind yourself, I'm here for a bigger purpose, I'm here to get to a bigger mission. And and I think, and get on with the journey. So to answer your question, I really, I mean, I wish I knew it was going to be this difficult. But then I'm very, very happy I didn't know about it, because that's the reason why I just went on with it. But then I would also say, in lag, you just, like, they say stay hungry, stay foolish. I think that's totally true. Like, you don't really need to know how difficult it is to start, but once you're there, persevere and don't give up, is what I would say.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that because it's almost like childbirth or having kids, right? If you knew how tough it's going to be, I wonder how many of us would actually go there.
Correct.
But what is the best piece of advice that you've received?
Yeah, I think I just said that, don't give up, like, persevere, stay put. I think that's probably the best piece of advice, like, anyone has given me ever. And I mean, I keep hearing this from multiple people. Following it is probably the most difficult thing, like,
Hmm.
everyone says that don't give up, but then like, what are those tips and tricks to not give up? How do you, you
Yeah. So
know,
what are they? What are the tips and tricks not to give up?
yeah, I think, like, especially when you're low, you need to make yourself feel good, right? Like, give yourself those quick wins, like probably, like, go cook a good meal, or go for a run, or go read a book, go watch a movie. So I think whatever that makes you feel good, like, let's just park it here, and then let's come back and think about it with a fresh mind. I think that's absolutely important, because what I've seen most of the times is, if you're thinking about a problem, most end up thinking about it, really not sleeping, and like literally waking up the next morning with it probably not having a solution for it. So the best thing is, if you feel that you have that mental block, you're not able to overcome, it's completely low, just end the day, do something that makes you feel good, and then next day morning automatically a solution would come to your mind. Because I mean, it's not by magic, but that's because your mind is fresh,
Yeah.
and it gives you, you wake up in the morning with a lot of possibilities, and I'm sure you can resolve it. So that's where I think, like, that's one of the things I use a lot. Second is, I've also seen people working till 10 in the night, 12 in the night, 7 days a week. It's not sustainable. So I have never done that, even from day one, when I didn't have a team. Because if you want to build build business that's sustainable, that you don't want to give up on, and that you want to take it to a long way ahead, give yourself that breaks. Probably, yes, starting, people work 6 days a week. Don't stretch yourself to 7 days a week. Don't stretch yourself to, like, 14, 15 hours a day. I think that's probably a second thing that has actually helped me as well to kind of stay put. So
Yeah.
yeah, these are the two
Yeah,
things.
because it is. I mean, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and self-care is extremely
Exactly.
important because it's only then
Absolutely.
that you can take care of everything else that's around. What is that one thing, or what are the things that we don't talk about enough as female founders?
Um, I think how our lives as female founders are so different, and how our problems are so different from male founders. Actually, people talk about entrepreneurship a lot. People talk about, like, yeah, how is it hard? How do you build a team? How do you make sure you get the PMF and all of that? But I think, as a female founder, what you don't talk about is how different you are. So I went to an IIT where it's dominated by males. I thought, like, I can do what every male can do. I went to PNG, worked on the manufacturing shop floor, where I was the only girl, and I felt like, I'm here, I can conquer the world. I don't think, I need to hear to those women specific advices. And then, like, uh, I got pregnant last year, and things changed. And